Welcome back, everyone, to Uncle Three's Ghost Story channel, night number 36. Tonight's tale takes us to a place I honestly hadn't expected to be so rich in ghostly lore: Malaysia. Before I started diving into Asian ghost stories, I always thought China and Thailand held the crown for the most extensive spiritual culture and folk tales. But boy, was I wrong about Malaysia. This country is overflowing with ghost stories, urban legends, and unique supernatural beings. Tonight, we've got a story about a new kind of spirit born from a tragic, ill-fated love affair in Malaysia between a Chinese immigrant and a Malaysian. It happened about 20 years ago, though no one can quite pinpoint the exact date. When I asked Malaysians about the truth of this tale, they all knew it well, but the timeline remained a mystery. Our story begins with the youngest daughter of an incredibly wealthy family. This family had 9 children, but the parents were truly rich, big landowners back in the day. The youngest daughter, Sara, was left 2 plots of land by her family. These plots were on a small hill, completely covered in wild banana trees. Here's the spooky part. None of these banana trees ever bore fruit. In Malaysia, people believe that land where trees don't flower or bear fruit is unlucky and unprosperous. Because of this, Sara didn't want to sell her land. Instead, she dreamed of leveling these 2 banana-covered hills to build a housing complex for poor children and a care center for less fortunate kids in Malaysia. She kept this noble intention close to her heart, not telling anyone. Then one day, Sara went to pursue her master's degree abroad. In this completely foreign environment, she met a Malaysian man of Chinese descent. It was purely by chance, but this man, Wu, came from a very prominent family in Penang. Sara and Wu fell deeply in love, and for a while, they were incredibly happy together. But when it came to marriage, things got complicated. Neither Sara's family nor Wu's family was pleased. Both families were equally wealthy, but the issue was ethnic conflict. Malaysians often didn't want their children to marry people of Chinese descent, and vice versa. Despite the opposition, they managed to get married without too much fuss. However, tensions really started to boil when Sara became 2 months pregnant. That's when Wu began to change. Or rather, that's when his true colors showed. Wu didn't actually love Sara. His real goal was to seize those 2 hills for his own family. His family wanted to use the land as a future burial site. According to Chinese feng shui, they believed these hills had a very auspicious direction, and building family graves there would bring great prosperity to their descendants, both in life and in their economic endeavors. Wu's family had tried to buy the hills many times before, but Sara's family was rich and didn't need the money, and Sara herself had her own plans over the land. So when money failed, Wu's family sent him to use his charm and love to get the land, hoping Sara would concede after they were married. When Sara found out about Wu's true intentions, she was devastated, and they began to argue constantly. The fights became so intense that, for the happiness of her unborn child, Sara heartbreakingly agreed to sign the papers, selling the 2 hills to Wu's family. But the nightmare didn't end there. Wu had never truly loved Sara, and once he achieved his goal, he continued to argue with and beat her. The tragic climax came during one particularly violent argument. Wu accidentally killed Sara. Then he dragged her body into the banana forest and buried her there. Of course, such a gruesome act of murder isn't something you can just do and walk away from. Sara's family quickly realized their daughter was missing and reported it to the police. Wu became the prime suspect almost immediately, unable to answer the police's questions. After a day of intense interrogation, Wu confessed to his horrifying crime. He told them he had buried Sara in the banana forest. Her family then asked him to lead them to the burial site, but there was a catch. Wu had buried her at night. And in a banana forest, every spot looks the same. He wasn't in a clear state of mind then, so he searched the entire forest but couldn't recall the exact location. Sara's family proposed cutting down all the banana trees on the two hills to find her grave. But the hills were simply too vast. It was an impossible task. They only managed to clear a small corner before giving up. Even the Malaysian police exhausted all their efforts trying to find the body. Without the body or enough evidence, Wu could only be considered a suspect. He couldn't be formally charged or detained. That's Malaysian law, the narrator explains, leaving us with a lingering sense of mystery behind the story. When Wu was temporarily released, he immediately tried to sell the two hills. He didn't want to keep them for his family anymore. Burying a pregnant woman there was considered a terrible omen, incredibly unlucky for his clan. So, his family had no choice but to let go of the hills. Wu eventually sold them to an Indian man. This Indian man had, of course, heard the chilling tale of the hills. But the Indian man was a man of faith, trusting in his own saints. So, upon acquiring the land, he performed a traditional land blessing ceremony according to his religious customs. Sara's family even came to witness the ritual. And then, something utterly unbelievable happened during the ceremony. On those two hills, where not a single banana tree had ever borne fruit, one large tree suddenly produced a bunch of bananas with a strange, striking red color. Sara's family instantly knew this was it. This was where their daughter was buried. They pleaded with the Indian man to allow the police to come and dig. Fortunately, he agreed immediately. He was, after all, quite unnerved by the thought of Sara's spirit resting somewhere on his new land. If finding her body meant getting rid of any lingering, gruesome spirits, then it was a blessing for him. The police arrived, and they didn't have to dig far. They found the body instantly. It wasn't just one life. It was two lives in one body, as Sara was still pregnant with her child. With this crucial evidence, the evil husband who had murdered Sara was finally arrested and brought to justice. Now, you might think that's the end of the story, right? Far from it. Sara's spirit was so full of sorrow and resentment that her anguished cries and moans could be heard every night on those two banana hills. Especially around the exact hour she was buried, her spirit would return to sit there, weeping and wailing. The Indian man who bought the hills was absolutely terrified. He didn't dare do anything with the land. If he tried to clear or develop it, he feared Sara's spirit would come for him. And he had proof. Every time he made plans to level the land, he would see Sara herself, drenched in blood, standing right outside his front door, staring directly at him. Overwhelmed with fear, he contacted Sara's family. He wanted to sell the two hills back to them. To their joy, Sara's family gladly accepted. After all, These hills held a special place in Sara's heart. And now, they were their daughter's final resting place. They knew her spirit still resided within those banana hills. But the tale doesn't end there. Since that time, a chilling legend has spread throughout the region. If any Malaysian couple, especially one where the man betrays or beats the woman, experiences infidelity, the next morning, the man is inevitably found trapped in the banana bushes, completely out of his mind, as if he'd witnessed something truly horrifying. These two banana hills, they say, are forever etched in Malaysian folklore, filled with countless gruesome stories. And that, my friends, concludes the 36th night's tale. Join Uncle 3 again for our next Asian ghost story.